the way, just so you understand how this all went down. And we've got Artem Tsarukyan, who weighed in. He was the backup fighter under contract, and he weighed in. Very relevant, because Artem told us he was the backup fighter. And Dana supported that. He said, yeah, Artem's the backup fighter. But there's been a little bit of a corruption of that term over the last 18 months, where a backup fighter, in my mind, must have a contract with the UFC. It calls for participation, which means he's going to be paid. Which he must be paid because he's going to go through a training camp and he's going to have managers and that have got to get paid. He then gets licensed, shows up after all the medicals and procedures, and steps on the scale. If you do all of those things, then for me, you're the backup. And that it's been a little bit corrupted where the guy that will call in case, if something happens, the first guy who we'll turn to has also been labeled backup fighter, but I don't see it the same way. And I just wanted to find that because Artem was actually the backup fighter. Historically, every time, as a matter of fact, but one, only one time ever, has a backup fighter not then fought for the championship next. And I asked, how do we get to this point? Because see, when I see Paddy come in there against Ilia, everybody has to do, or everybody's held to a standard to do, what they're supposed to do. And what they're supposed to do is whatever they said they were going to do. And Ilia Topuria told everybody, my next fight will be against Paddy. And it doesn't matter if I win. If I lose to Charles, my next fight will be against Paddy. That's a very different call out. That's a very different challenge because now you're really understanding his sincerity. And Paddy is at most one win away from a championship. In fact, I have always believed Paddy was one win away from a championship, that he would have one more fight, regardless of opponent. And I've always thought he'd kind of have like a Justin Gaethje-esque. That would bring, Poiriers and Max Holloways into the world. It would bring them in. I kind of thought it'd be somebody like that. And this is the night that Paddy beats King Green. After Paddy beat King Green, I believed right there in that moment, he's got two more before he goes for the championship. So he had one. That was Chandler. He's got one more. But I don't necessarily, it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, that weight class is drastically different than it was the night that he fought King Green. For example, the champion of the weight class isn't even in the weight class anymore. Well, that moves everybody up a spot. Right there moves everybody up a spot. Then he gets his personal nemesis to come in. You guys, are you clear where this came from? I spoke to Paddy after the fight. And I said to him, in my mind, you and Ilia met at the press conference or the backstage over there in England when the Mr. Hand Sanitizer, when that verbiage was born, is the day that you guys met. And Paddy said, no, you don't have that right. He said, when I got signed to the UFC, somebody on Ilia's team started coming at me on Twitter, welcoming me to the UFC, but letting me know I don't belong and I'm not going to be here and I'll be packing my bag soon. And then somewhere within that team, and it might have been Ilia himself, started talking about that Paddy told this story on ESPN, that Paddy was happy that the Russians bombed the Georgians. And Paddy was so offended by that. He tells me this. I'm so offended. There's schools getting destroyed. There's children being killed. I would never even talk about something like that. So he said they made this up about me. They made this terrible thing up. And it bothered me. And I will tell you from my own experience, if I ever wanted to get to a guy and I was having a hard time, all you had to do was tell a lie. If you tell the truth about him, he'll talk it up to trash talk. He might even get pissed off. it's complete, but he might ignore you completely. What he will do if you tell the truth about him, it's a little bit of a smorgasbord of possible options. If you lie about him, he will respond every time. So when Paddy tells me that they told a story of Paddy saying that, I don't know if that's based on a misunderstanding, where they really thought it, or if they just knew if we say something horrible about him, he'll respond. I don't know. But he responded, and that's what happened backstage. That's where this whole thing that led to Mr. Hand Sanitizer came from, just to share that story with you. But it didn't end there. In that moment is where Paddy let them know, I don't appreciate that. And by the way, I also don't want you to think that I said it. I didn't. He let him know. This is still Paddy talking. I'm telling Paddy's story. Then Ilia goes on the Joe Rogan program. Joe Rogan has a podcast. And Ilia goes on it. And it's very big. It's a very big show. And Ilia retells that story. He says it again after the hand sanitizer. So now in Paddy's mind, you have no right. I didn't like you and I had a huge problem with it, but you had room. I had a little room in my heart and mind to believe that you were talking trash that got out of hand. So I let you know, first off, I didn't say it in case there was a misunderstanding. Second, I let you know to do something else. That one bothers me. So Paddy's saying, so then when he does it after all of it, and he goes on the Joe Rogan program and says Paddy was happy that the Russians bombed the Jordans. Paddy's like, it's gloves off, I hate him. Those are huge words. I hate him. Paddy said, I don't want to stop him in the first round. I don't want to stop him with the first punch. I want to stop him in the last second. After I elbow him in the head 700 times, I want to disfigure him. That's strong. I'm just telling you, that's strong. And it's a very real thing between them, which is why I took the time to tell the story with the bombings. Just so you know, this wasn't just two guys talking hype, and this wasn't somebody that threw a hand sanitizer and nicknamed him hand sanitizer. I thought it was. That's enough to have a feud with a guy. If you're the champion of the world and you're Ilia Topuria and you get nicknamed by a really popular guy and the nickname catches on Mr. Hand Sanitizer, like, that, okay. In this game, that's good reason to fight. That actually would be a very good, very strong storyline. This is a whole nother level by a factor of 10. And what do you do when you have two guys that want to fight? One of them's completely undefeated in the UFC. The other one's completely undefeated in his entire career. Why would you keep them apart? What would ever force you to keep them apart? And in this case, there's an answer. We already have a guy. His name is Artem Tsarukyan. I'm just here to remind everybody both statements can be true. Paddy the Baddy's next fight can be for the World Championship. Artem Tsarukyan's next fight can be for the World Championship. It would mean one has to wait. Now, common belief has always been whoever gets the title nod, the other will default into Justin Gaethje. That's a great idea. That's a great angle. Those are really great matches. I'm just reminding you, Paddy's next fight could be for the world title. And so could Artem's. You just have a matter of who is Ilia's next fight. And if the match between the two you're trying to preserve is Ilia versus Paddy, if you're going to go in another direction because the rankings say you need to, and maybe you made a deal and you got to show an integrity to the sport, like there's very good argument for Artem. I'm just sharing with you. If you're going in that direction, but you're trying to preserve Ilia versus Paddy, the only way to do it, where you could get both fights, where you could serve two masters, the only way to do it is to do Paddy first.